Between liberation and compliance, we look at the elite's role in containing African minded movements in Jamaica. Welcome to SkyWalker'S Channel, everyone. It's where good coffee makes bad people feel bad, but it's not a bad thing. Today, we are peeling back layers of history, politics, and social control to examine a topic that doesn't get enough attention: how Jamaica's elite, both pre independence and post independence, have played a role in containing African centered ideologies while favoring Eurocentric models of progress. By this, our people over time become and remain lacking in not only their sense of belonging, society, and culture, but also in their confidence and awareness of what really happens in the world, in this life, in the bigger picture. Without that self identity, they cannot lead. So the outside forces will lead them. Today, we must begin to break this spell. We need our own autonomy on every level, every dimension, to every degree, and by all dynamics. This discussion isn't about conventional thinking, it's about truth. The inbred prescribed, enforced, and compelled predefined the notion of what is normal or acceptable can wait today for this one. Yeah, let's sit that one out. Like, share, and subscribe if you are ready to step outside the usual narratives and dive into the forces that shape Jamaica behind the surface. There are colonial blueprints, subtle sorceries suppressing the African identity. It is why we take a pair of scissors to the occasion where we really needed a shovel, because we become dependent for definitions. And if they said that SHIT spells sugar, then we are going to agree to take that field for sugar arrangement. This is not good at all. It is not good, my people. Jamaica's history of resistance is well documented. From Maroons to Rastafari, African consciousness has long fought against imposed European systems. But let's not forget, colonial powers designed governance with suppression built in. The British knew that cultural control was just as important as economic exploitation. So, African traditions, spiritual practices, languages, and social structures were deliberately silenced. The colonial elite fostered Eurocentric education, Christianity, and Western governance as the backbone of Jamaican society, ensuring that African centered ideologies were pushed to the fringes. By the time Jamaica gained independence in 1962, the blueprint was deeply embedded. Those stepping into leadership inherited this structure consciously or unconsciously, maintaining it. The result: African minded movements were labeled radical, rebellious, and anti progress. Now we drink the water that the poison is in order to take a tablet to get rid of poison. Mm? We drink the water that the poison is in order to take a tablet to get rid of poison. We hear these awful and godly words being repeated so many times that we start to believe them. Those that look and sound like us are tabooed, and all we are left with is trying to be those whom we are not. Even ones that hate and oppress us, we are trying to be like them. You cannot wear dreadlocks because a hair has to grow straight in single as it grows for the European, but not in locks the way it grows for a melanite person. The symbol of everything good is white, and nothing that is too black is good. That's what we are told. The black child is ugly, even if she is beautiful, simply because she is too black. Andrew Holness knows too big, they say, and that's why he is guilty even when proven innocent. And Mark Golding is innocent even while known to be the guilty. His image washes him as innocent, as innocent, as white as snow. And voila, Finchak is no longer his fault. In fact, Andrew was not in government when Usain Bolt's money was missing. But voila again. Guess what? You already know. They say that he did nothing to prevent Usain Bolt's money going missing. But it was Mark Golding and Peter Bunting who were there serving under Portia Simpson as Prime Minister at the time. Hmm? Portia Simpson was Prime Minister and they were there working with her. Mark Golding was not in was in government. Andrew Holness was not. He was an opposition member. But he should have prevented Usain Bolt's money from getting stolen. Peter Bunton is honorably white now. He works with the British. See, he's honorably white. Yeah. Marcus Garvey was right about the fake independence, racist constitution that they were giving to Jamaica at post emancipation. Yes, that's what they were giving to Jamaica to keep us down. Marcus Garvey was right for pointing it out. Norman Manley was wrong, leading on the people and forcing the evil onto them. The thing is that he was also white, and that made him right, no matter what. So the slaves declared that Marcus Garvey was a black fool and turned him out to exile by simply giving him their lack of support and surrendering to the new form of colonization because the white Bunununus band said so. If Mark Golding comes and says that his ancestors came as slaves from Africa, it's true because a white man said so. Who does Garvey think he is? Huh? That's what the people think. That's what they would ask. Yeah, even in clear-cut cases like that of Garvey and Manley, of Andrew and Mark, people still claim that they have an argument. Yet, the only thing ever happens in history is that history repeats itself, and they should have followed the black guy. They should have followed Marcus Garvey. Mhm. They should have followed Marcus. They should have followed Jesus, and they should follow Andrew Holness and know that he is not the Finsack guy. But they make up stories, obvious lies, and statements that are proven wrong, like 3 trillion missing, like 28 bank accounts, and like using Bolt money gone. I don't know. Even Jesus needed Jesus when his own received him not. They hung him out to dry on a cross and then pretended as if they were on his side all the time. There is more Bible and praise Jesus in Jamaica than mosquitoes. Yet the only thing that most of these righteous Melanite people do is call for more of Jesus' blood to cover them and wash the street. And when you say that it's wickedness, they say that it's symbolic and that you are evil. You are evil for saying that bloodshed is not pretty because Jesus said that it's pretty. Some Rastaman a holla fi Haile Selassie till them throat roll dry. But the emperor is asking them why them did so wickedly to Marcus, but they still cannot hear. They are running all over the place and talking about one Marky G. And Andrew Holness, Steve Bolt money, although it was Mark Golding at his party that were in power all the time. Yeah. Then say Andrew Holness go TV. when he went in a opposition. There is the unspoken continuation of post-independence realities upon us, and those that call themselves freedom fighters are opposing the freedom fighters. Post-independence should have been the turning point, but was it? In many ways, the new Jamaican elite politicians, educators, clergy, and business moguls found themselves replicating colonial power dynamics because they were under that shite for sugar spell of enforced mediocrity, often dismissing African centered ideologies as impractical. What you believe is true as a leader, you force it upon your people, like Manley, and PJ Patterson did to Jamaica. Now PJ Patterson is here demanding his flowers. Hello. African history was largely ignored in schools, while Western philosophies dominated syllabuses. Indigenous African spiritual systems continued to face discrimination, with Christianity maintaining control. Business structures favored foreign partnerships over empowering local African rooted enterprises. The state prioritized models of development aligned with Western ideals, pushing African centered thought further to the sidelines. Was this intentional suppression or simply inherited governance? Either way, it limited the mainstream acceptance of African minded movements in Jamaica. That proposed straight flight from Nigeria to Jamaica would go a far way to move us closer to our own reality instead of being here living as imposters to a foreign identity. Some key moments of containment when African movements faced pushback. Let me see. Mhm. Throughout Jamaica's modern history, movements advocating African consciousness have faced resistance, containment, or strategic dilution. Here are some key examples. Rastafari movement, that one is very important, 1930 to the present. Initially ridiculed, criminalized, and violently suppressed. Rastas were branded as dangerous dissidents. It took decades before the movement gained cultural legitimacy, and even now, elements of suppression remain. The Black Power movement in the 1970s, leaders advocating African pride and empowerment, faced political containment. Instead of being integrated into national policy, Afrocentric activism was marginalized. Pan Africanism and Marcus Garvey's legacy. Pan Africanism and Marcus Garvey's legacy. While officially celebrated, Garveyism struggles to find strong institutional backing. His teachings on African self determination are acknowledged but not fully implemented into Jamaican policy. I don't even think it's fully engrafted into the Rastafari belief system. If you go to the leader of the UNIA, you will understand what I'm talking about. When African centered ideologies gain momentum, the system finds ways to neutralize them, either by branding them radical or by absorbing elements of them without changing the power structure. You had a man leading the UNIA who doesn't understand the fundamental Garvey principle about the power of subliminally promoting a foreign image as the symbol of greatness and the reason why it is more dangerous than present lack of finances. He claimed that the most important thing is to fix the finances for the people. It's like having your water container broken and leaking, but a man comes and tell you that the first move at fixing the problem would be to carry the water with the water container. How on earth can the people manage their finances? Because that's what it will come down to. A broken people. What? you propose is for them to fix their finances. No matter what you think, that's what it's going to come down to. How can they manage their finances if they do not know a thing about managing finances? The head of the slaves must be fixed before they can have financial success. The slave is in the head, not in the pocket. Many who claim to be fighting for freedom are actually shackling the mass minds, and that is not good. We must bring out our recultivating tools before even considering mass financing. You're not masters until you grasp the concept. Is the modern day elite control by design or by default? It is by default, which history already explained. It is by default. There was always a half breed child to put in the place of leadership and carry out the mandate to permanently mold and limit the population, perpetually preventing them from opening their eyes to the sabotaging societal spells that spoke our wheels. Even the ordinary everyday red tapes were woven into the constitutional templates deliberately to ensure a certain deliberate outcome over time. Fast forward to today and ask yourself, has Jamaica's elite intentionally contained African rooted ideologies, or is this simply the natural progression of governance as designed by colonial predecessors? Political figures tend to promote development through foreign investment rather than cultural renaissance. Academia still leans toward European historical perspectives more than Afrocentric analysis. They are literally married to a shit for sugar mentality. Entertainment and media often favor mainstream global trends over deep African heritage. This isn't necessarily about conspiracy, it's about inherited power structures that reward compliance with global Western norms while making African rooted movements seem impractical or outdated, or at least not worth the squeeze, you know. But here's the reality: liberation movements don't need permission to thrive. Despite these challenges, African consciousness in Jamaica remains alive. They can choose to be resilient and evolving, but that doesn't always support the personal opportunities that might be available for individuals. Where do we go from here? Breaking this cycle. Breaking the cycle. If Jamaica is to truly embrace African liberation, systemic shifts must happen. African history should be more than a side note, it should be foundational. Government must integrate Afrocentric economic empowerment strategies beyond symbolic gestures. African consciousness should be celebrated, not tokenized. Traditional African spirituality must be embraced rather than marginalized. It's not about rejecting other influences, it's about correcting historical imbalances. Jamaica has carried European designed models for too long, and it's time to rethink progress on our own terms. My people, Skywalker is speaking the unconventional truth. Do you think that it would be hard for you? Jamaica stands at a crossroads between liberation and compliance, between embracing African consciousness fully or continuing inherited structures that suppress it. The elite, knowingly or unknowingly, have played a role in containing African centered movements through strategic silence, political framing, and economic alignment with Western ideals. So, what happens next? The truth is, change doesn't wait for permission. African centered ideologies are not a trend, they are the foundation of Jamaica's identity. If we reclaim them fully, Jamaica doesn't just evolve, it liberates. You have just stepped into an uncomfortable truth, but truth is what moves nations forward. If this upload made you think, if it challenged the way Jamaica's history is told, then like, share, and subscribe. The Skywalker channel isn't about conventional narratives, it's about seeing past the script. Until next time, stay woke, stay real, and never be afraid to speak your truth, or at least think of these things, my people. Peace out.